It's a real big pleasure for me and honor to stand in front of you today of a humble business of service, 175 years of legacy that's gone through so many world events. And it's amazing to have also, because I'm from Uzbekistan, I worked also with global companies, to see the people from all over the world, which also makes my story true. And it's also nice to see that Lindström is already recognized as an employer that has international staff that doesn't need to speak Finnish in Finnish context to be part of Lindström Group, because I worked so much on this, and I can tell you there is racism and discrimination, access to job market, be you international student, be you a student from a vocational academy, or just to having international non-Finnish sounding name is documented, very difficult to access job market. So, I'm born and raised in Uzbekistan. Just a few words about me. That I moved here when I was 18, not to Finland, to Denmark. So my work is informed today as a day consultant and event host by my lived work experience in two happiest countries in the world. And they think Nordic is so inclusive, Nordics are so diverse. No, it's not always been an easy walk in the park. So I've used volunteering experiences, mentoring experiences, all the programs that's been offered by cities, governments in Denmark, Finland, to really find my way to the Finnish society, to the Nordic society, so that I can feel confident with my ethnic background, with my different perspectives and views I offer to Finnish companies. And here today I work with Finnish National Program of Talent Boost to help Finnish companies diversify. I've worked before in container sales in Maersk Line, so I have a career in logistics and supply chain before joining, becoming diversity, equity, inclusion consultant 5 years ago. And yeah, it's nice to know what sales is about, the complexity of global trade. You had a huge sales training yesterday, and it's all put together how we treat each other as people and how we want to bring the best of the person in order for everyone to connect, to contribute, and to thrive in a workplace. So link to Lindström quickly. It's Galit Nadbornik, as some of you know, I was coaching her for Women in Tech public speaker competition, so actually she hosted that at Lindström in your headquarters. And also Nikita Zdobin is part of the finance team, I understood from Petri Vipola, so I've been pushing international students to Finnish companies so they recognize the potential of graduate students there is on Finnish companies. So yes, I work on different range, and I know that in Finland, again, we have different needs to understand what inclusion and exclusion feels like, so I bring in also theater artists to use storytelling to unwrap everything that we need to understand why we need the buy-in and how it's good for business, the inclusive leadership, and what it really means. So I have 3 parts for you today. Why it's future-proofing inclusive leadership and why it remains top priority. 2, we will go to some basic definitions on diversity, equity, inclusion. And 3, how to take action. Are you with me? Great. And there will be 3 chat wall exercises, and we will use your phone, so do not put them away, okay? So, the inclusive leadership has been really on the rise, just like during last few years with the big global movements. So the global trends make companies, including Lindström, to reshape and also be more ahead of the curve to say, how do we manage the after effects of Me Too, Black Lives Matter, the post-COVID pandemic, we live in a hybrid digital world. How do we make sure that we managing the geopolitical challenges, you know, the operational environment, the heightened energy and climate agenda, and the great resignation. You'll be surprised that even in Finland, 70% of people are ready to change jobs. 70%. So it's not always the cool work-life balance rhythm or the myth we have. Generation Z and millennials are turning tables and thinking how people need to be treated in the companies. So it's all already pushing different trends to companies to diversify, inclusify. The innovation benefits. we all know, and science already proved time and time again, different surveys, research, that there are innovation benefits with leading inclusively and diverse teams, that there is 70% higher growth, 36% better profitability according to McKinsey, there is 75% faster time to market, and 19% better innovation. And we know the numbers, I know, but then it becomes also even better to see how it affects teams. Team performance is better. The heterogeneous teams outperform homogeneous teams with 87% better decision making. And even belonging, which we danced this morning, has all been researched well to say that there is 56% increase in job performance when colleagues feel that they belong, and 75% reduction in sick days. So that's quite remarkable to think if we put these processes in place, the policies in place, it actually does bring back engaged and loyal employees. So now we're at this Energize for Excellence Summit. We know that you will have discussion later today with Helena Kar and Petri Vipola, why and where you are on your diversity, equity, inclusion journey. You will decide your strategies and must-win battles, the KPIs, and of course, I want to also highlight that here, what's your promise and approach to sustainability, the people come first, and that's commendable. That brings the ownership and commitment with your ongoing day journey. So I'm really excited for your day today because it's so many companies in Finland. 70% of Finnish companies are family-owned, and PricewaterhouseCoopers say that less than 1 in 10 of these companies set up any day targets. So great showing example with Lindström how to diversify and internationalize. So now, quick warm-up exercise. If you get your phones on, answer the question, do you feel Lindström is an inclusive company? Okay. Okay, how does it look? Looks very good so far. Answers keep coming. And these questions which will be asked will help also the colleague Lindström team to work on your journey. So this is really important that you answer honestly. So to make sure we have a real picture of the situation, how we feel Lindström is. But majority is definitely there, so good job. We'll continue from here. And now that we check the basics of the global trends, the performance and innovation benefits of leading inclusively, we need to also figure out what are we actually talking about. So just a little story of me and Kasper. Who is Kasper? It's my first real full-time employer in Denmark. It was a small agency working for Maersk Line, selling containers, and he didn't want to hire me. He said that I wouldn't fit in the culture. I was a graduate from corporate communication, master's in corporate communication in Denmark, and he's like, why would you sell containers? Well, it was a financial crunch, 2008. I needed any opportunity to stay in the country. My visa was expiring, and I had really trouble to get a job. And he didn't want to hire me, but he did give me a chance, and he came, so I went from unwanted to desired. I increased the sales revenue by 30% year on year. Then I went to Maersk Line, went from sales from $4 million to $12 million. I traveled, India, China, Czech Republic, Poland. So it was really nice to showcase once a person like Kasper gives you a chance and to make a difference. Then I saw him, invited him to Danish Parliament to debate why we need to give every international non-Dane or non-Finn an equal chance. So I want to think of you and your change-making impact you can make on somebody else's life. Doesn't have to be international student. Could be immigrant women, could be immigrant or refugees. It could be people with different physical disabilities. And that's why I feel we need to know what we're talking about. So you will have some of the same topics discussed in Helena, so I will focus on some of the definitions more than others. What is diversity? Diversity is something that you see in the eye and something that's beyond the eye. It's about representation as a whole. There's so many different dimensions, internal, external, and we just basically see the gender, the education, the social background, maybe the religious background, the disability, and national origin. What we want to focus on is on the inclusion. The inclusion here is that how do you put diversity in action? How do we make sure that we are so international here, that we can all feel comfortable walking in each other's offices and don't feel the outsider? It's to make sure that we take the equality, the fairness of opportunity, and psychological of safety in the workplace visible. So inclusion is where you take the policies, processes, and turn them into daily behaviors. So I can look you in the eye and say, huomenta, and I can hear someone to say good morning. And I tell you, in Maersk office in Finland, people didn't want to say good morning to me. And you know what the reply was? They said, I think it's rude to say good morning because I think you should already have a good morning. I'm serious. I said, Anna, why don't you say good morning? She just runs in through the office and sits on her computer and then leaves at 4 o'clock. And that was really strange for me with these cultural differences. But it's really understanding that it's okay to be quiet, but it's also okay to understand that we come from different cultures. I don't thrive in silence. I do now, after 10 years in Finland. But if I come from Uzbekistan, if you're here from India, thank you. Thank you. I can see there's like this opossum, I can feel you. But if you come from countries where there is really low tolerance on silence, we're screwed. Sorry. We need to be really careful and make sure the inclusion works. So the equity part. So very difficult topic. Equality versus equity. What is this really about? There's not even a precise word in Finnish vocabulary. Yhdenvertaisuus is now, but I'm wondering if there is equity also in your languages. But let's go through it quickly. It's actually saying that not everybody starts at the same place. If we think of different Lindström offices, think about equity of parental leave. Is it the same as in Finland? Maybe not. Equity in pay. We even have in Tallinn, Estonia, 19% gender pay gap between men and women. Equity of physical accessibility. Are all offices accessible physically to people? So all of these things will really refer to equity and how we make sure we have tools, give the people tools to succeed in order for them to contribute to Lindström and they feel they can thrive in the workplace. So it's treating people according to their circumstances. So the day now is fixed, we put what diversity, equity, inclusion is, but at the bottom of it all, we really need to think of psychological safety. Amy Edmondson is a premium expert on coining this definition back in the 90s, where she says it's a shared belief by the group that we can take into personal skills. I can tell you, listen, I don't agree with you, or I made a mistake, or I don't have all the answers. What do you think? So think about having that safety to not to feel the fear of punishment or humiliation, and that you don't come in a bad light. That's a fundamental aspect of inclusion. So quick check for you leaders here. Think about when you go to your office, are you comfortable to say these statements? I made a mistake. I don't know what to do here. Do you have the answers? How can I help you? What challenges are you facing? So are you actively listening to your employees, and do they feel comfortable to come to you when they have something to say? So we know that psychological safety is good for business, it brings the fresh thinking, it avoids the safety issues as well. So that if you do something, if you see something, do something. That's at the core of it all. So, and finally, the belonging is the outcome of all these inclusive processes which are laid down in the company, that they coined, championing the behaviors, so you feel that this is the belonging, dancing like nobody's watching. So if you put this DABE into 4 shortly, so diversity is being invited to a party, Inclusion is being invited to dance, okay? Equity is making sure that everybody can enjoy the dance. And belonging, dancing like nobody's watching. So we feel comfortable, there is no retaliation, it feels at ease, and you can see yourself at every career ladder, in the board, in the office, here in Finland, and in the other offices where you're represented. So now, let's go again to chat wall exercise. Over to you. Let's ask personally, with a heart, hand on your heart, what does belonging in a workplace mean to you? Please give us your inputs as best as you can in English. Okay. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Safety, being family, respect for differences, freedom of being yourself at work, environment where everyone is respected, being valued member of the team, job security, motivation, feeling valued and relaxed. Oh, I love it. Relaxed. That's not fitting in, that's being relaxed. That's opposite of fitting in. This is great. Being able to be myself. I feel welcomed and appreciated. That's the human psychological need to stand out but also belong. There's a sense of being in the same something, I didn't see it. Feeling welcome, appreciated, and considered. Thank you so much. I'm sure Helena will take these into use. Thank you so very much for your entries. So yeah, I want to give you 3 more definitions to walk away because these are also important. The intersectionality, let's give a hand here. Have you heard of this term before? If somebody heard, please raise a hand. Okay, a few hands, very good. So intersectionality, if you want to think about it, it's like a lens through which you see people, right? It's not just, you look at me, you say, okay, I live in Finland, I have high education, okay, I come from Uzbekistan, and that's like what you see and you base understanding. But you don't know that I may have an issue like a citizenship status differences. I may have a very, like I may belong to a religious minority. So all of these different layers of who I am, the different layers of diversity can give me an advantage or disadvantage in the way I'm treated at the workplace. And this is also connected to unconscious biases. So unconscious biases, as we know, it's very popular trainings these days, and they're important to understand that they are connected to power structures and norms in our society. How we judge people, it's the prejudices that we don't know that even we have them. And it's okay, we all have that. I will give you my examples of prejudice I've held. So I grew up in Uzbekistan. The World War II, I thought all Germans are bad. That's how I was educated in school. Now I speak Russian. There's war in Ukraine. So am I bad? There is questions of these. It's not popular to speak Russian, and I totally understand it. But that's another way of thinking who gets hired and how we're feeling comfortable to work with differences that we don't see. The unconscious biases are affecting our business decisions. Who can promote it, how we compensate it, and how we given chances to contribute. I also had unconscious bias towards people who wear veil. And I know that I have to unwrap my relationship to people who wear a veil. And I'm sure we have a lot based on different countries. There's different underrepresented groups, and it's important to unwrap them in your own cultural context. And lastly, I want to bring you when thinking of unconscious biases, how are they shaping? Let's look at this privilege wheel. Let's also quickly understand, have you seen a privilege wheel before? Okay, more than intersectionality, yes. So it's like lotteries that we have, where we are born, what languages we speak, do we have access to healthcare? Do we have actually even a cultural privilege, let's say speaking the language of a dominant group? consider speaking English. You already are at an advantage in so many contexts. And think how the privilege wheel changes once you move countries, right? How different who I am with the privileges that I hold is different. And that makes also your social networks, it reflects in your social networks. So we are very much comfortable with people who look like ourselves, right? And if we don't have very diverse crowds, we don't necessarily have them present, neither in our podcasts, nor our different social media channels. I'm talking about cities who want to attract internationals, and there is no diversity present. So we need to think how we diversify, how we understand our privileges, and how we make sure that the hiring processes, the recruitment processes, and the whole inclusive policies really reflect the different privileges that we have. So now, with all of these definitions, inclusion, exclusion, intersectionalities, it's a challenging year to be a leader in such a polarized environment. How do you take action? So I have 3 suggestions for you here. To take action, time and time again, I see companies doing these sporadic workshops and giving small employee resource groups, but usually the diversity, equity, inclusion programs fail because the skills are not valued enough. So first, prioritize inclusive leadership as a management competence, because that really shows that how do we teach empathy, cultural sensitivity, inclusivity. It all comes into our behaviors, and then you spread it with your team. And that means you should also measure it and connect it to your KPIs. Welcoming feedback culture, one of the difficulties is to speak up culture with psychological safety. How do we make sure that our teams are comfortable with us and that we can communicate across offices, understanding the communication challenges, communication differences, so that we still feel safe? And third one is demonstrate commitment and care through benefits and initiatives. So oftentimes, when we have some diversity inclusion incentives, they only benefit the middle management. What we want to know is how we can translate and coin the right behavior. If someone in your office is able to talk to you and makes you matter, who is the chatty one in the office? That's the person that's glue, creates that understanding that, hey, we want to be inclusive, and we boost inclusivity with celebrating that behavior. And I think you have Lindström Awards here as well, right, coming up. So how do we celebrate those champions? Also, 3 things to demonstrate care and commitment, is normalizing discussions on diversity and inclusion, 2, make it actionable so people can take action. So when you visit each other's offices, how do you include your colleagues from other countries? And 3, be tangible with outcomes so that everybody in the group understands how our day strategy benefits everyone in the company. So what I also want to support that with all of these suggestions is like, how do we put employee engagement with social capital? Now, social capital is the way we see internally, how well do we know each other? Social capital we build by mentoring, internal mentoring, external mentoring programs. It's the sum of connections which make you feel comfortable in one environment, and we know that knowing people in Finland gets you a job as well. 20-30% of jobs in Finland are advertised, 20 to 30%. Think about how are jobs advertised in your country? How are the recruitment practices? So the social capital theories prove time and time again for business, it means employee loyalty, engagement, and retention. And I've worked in Finland for now over 4 years talking about why social capital is so overlooked in a quiet Finnish society. So we need to talk more to each other. So before I end, I want to leave you with communication importance to avoid day resistance. With any changes that you may have, we have different resistance to change, not just with day strategies. But one of the, in Harvard Business Review article says that there is 3 most often threats to implementing day strategies. It's merit threat. You might question, what? My skills are not enough? Am I not enough with who I represent? 2, status threat. Am I losing my social standing here? So somebody will say that they is only serving underrepresented groups. And that's not true. We need to communicate why it aligns with the company strategies and how it benefits overall the organization. And no wonder, as Helena mentioned, that you have people from India and Nepal here in Finland in the laundry rooms. We have spoken languages from all over Europe in this country. And who would have thought? So we need to adjust that, the fairness of opportunity. And moral threat is when companies' ideas and objectives go against your personal values. So all of these things really need to be communicated well, inclusively. Where you are, you need to take, as leaders, you need to take the feedback fairly and use your internal channels to understand why we need diversity, equity, inclusion mindset. I give you an example with the Hanken School of Economics, where I was calling 100 companies to diversify them with international students' employment. So the students from Hanken, the Swedish, Finnish-Swedish students who study in Hanken, they were resisting this project, and they said, why are international students getting more help here? Why aren't we getting that same support that Kamilla calls companies on your behalf? So that was the result where Hanken didn't communicate enough why international students are suffering increased discrimination on the job market, that they're overlooked as a potential. And that's why I understood that we really need to take our first audience first, internal audience, get the buy-in, and let this, let the inclusive leadership blossom, so we don't have that resistance. So now, after all being said and done, please take one last exercise and think, what do you feel as a leader Lindström should focus on with your priorities to ensure that it's inclusive and fair employer? Take a moment. What should Lindström focus on to ensure it's inclusive and fair employer? Let's take a look. Open communication, educating leaders, policy, build trust. Great. Trust was also a main key theme yesterday, as understood. Good leadership, transparency, open communication. Open up, listen, walk the talk. Internal education of what this is all about. Great. Mindset change, correct. Awareness, inclusive leadership, culture. All right. Thank you so much for all the entries. So, thank you. To close off, what have I spoken to you about today? I've shared to you why inclusive leadership remains a top priority with the global trends we're faced, the changing demographics and the demands of the workforce, the performance benefits, and also the innovation benefits of leading inclusively. That we shouldn't go beyond the business case and look at our context where we are present and communicate, prioritize inclusive leadership as a competence, like I said, measure it, put it in your KPIs, and make it personal and wanted. We need to also establish speak-up culture, because don't let silence eat the day up. Don't let silence eat the day up. We need to bring the psychological safety into your daily behaviors. You can establish and demonstrate commitment with care through benefits and initiatives. So again, normalize discussions on day, make it actionable so people can take action, and 3, be tangible with outcomes. And communicating inclusively is super important for all of us and the team to avoid day resistance. Commitment, where there's commitment, there's ownership. Where there's ownership comes accountability. I really hope that you will be empowered now to take action, to be more aware of your inclusive leadership capacity. And I know that you can. Lindström values stay strong. your employer net promoter score is quite high, so the values that you already hold are quite strong. And I send you wish you a great journey on your inclusive leadership, and looking forward to work with you maybe in the future. And let's take questions now. Thank you.
Yeah, give it up for Kamilla. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
We have some brilliant questions from brilliant minds. I'll just start it off.
Yeah.
Can you give me some tips to how to check that I'm not biased on topics? Are there some checkup questions or something I could ask when making decisions, etc., that could help?
Yeah. So the first experience, thank you for the question. So the first thing we always recommend in understanding that I have unconscious biases is go to Harvard and Google implicit bias test. Implicit bias test. And I'm sure it could be great conversation for all to understand in your context, what are the unconscious biases within a given environment? Okay, because they are connected to the social norms of that given society. So have an unconscious bias training to begin with. That's also part of the inclusive leadership competencies.
Thank you. Very concrete tips. Then we have a really good question also that how we know that we are inclusive all around Lindström? How we can measure? Is there any KPI or how we know that we are?
Well, I feel when we have intercultural colleagues and we are in 24 countries, I don't believe that we all already inclusive per se, because our behaviors, our competencies are shaped by our cultural environments. And what is okay in India or China, in Czech Republic, may not be okay in Finland. So we really need to think how the legislation enables us to be inclusive. For example, the European Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive is coming. Bear with me, it's a new directive from European Union which will track companies, including Lindström, the way we treat human rights and conduct. So I believe the legislation is a good starting point. Are we inclusive? And then look at the equity, which I talked about, the parental leave, the physical accessibility, the way we celebrate day. Do we celebrate holidays? Do we encourage each other? So, okay, what is Diwali? What is Navruz? What is other holidays of, Dragon New Year? So to have that awareness of our truly international Lindström culture, to share that with each other and don't keep it in a container in your little office.
Thank you. And is it also, Kamilla, that at the end it is our business performance and the NPS? As we talked yesterday, that we really need to get this year at least this 50 million, all guys, you remember this, of course. And it is really that if we decrease the retention and we have these passionate people around throughout those DA topics, that it also helps the business performance.
Exactly, as in psychological safety as it is, that we, being inclusive and safe is good for business because it brings better decision making, better ideas. You can challenge each other ideas, which will, replicate on the way what products are being sold, what are the channels, and how do we find new growth opportunities.
I'll just continue with that. I agree that a diverse team will make better decisions, but does diversity make it more challenging to make those decisions and get alignment?
Right, absolutely. Good question. Diversity is not easy. It's the research, what I brought to you about, the 36% of better, revenue, is when diversity inclusion strategies are done right, that they can backfire if they're not taken care of without psychological safety. It's all, billions are wasted year on year because they are left on one person. The chief diversity officer role doesn't always exist, even in Finland. In America, the chief diversity officers, less than 2 years, the chief diversity officer quits because they hire one person and they say, go fix. One person go fix.
Easy task.
And no, it's not going to last. So it allows, and that's why we really need to have the leadership commitment and then trickle down to the whole level of our organization.
Do you see what is then the biggest challenge once we have really these diverse teams? That what's the biggest challenge leaders are facing in often? Is there any?
Can you just say again the question? The biggest challenge?
What is the biggest challenge to lead the team with high diversity?
Well, miscommunications. That's really one of the topics. How do you communicate that you're on the same page? And we are very different in way we communicate in Finland. So I want to bring in this culture mapping by Erin Meyer, where she says in Finland we don't confront each other as we do, for example, in France or even in neighboring Denmark. You don't say straight in the face, how do you give feedback? How do you build trust relationships at work? How do you give negative feedback? So I think the communication is the most challenging, and you say, okay, I really want to meet you as a whole of a person. I want to treat you exactly with where you come from, but when communication on daily challenges is not fixed and we don't know how we should streamline communication, that can really backfire. So cross-cultural competencies, this is what I also work and talk about, so that's also a nice way to continue that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have a good follow-up question here around that.
Okay. You mean the first one?
I mean the third one.
Third one. This one. Yeah, you put it there. I didn't see it. Is diversity mainly a Western feature? I wonder. This agenda has similar importance and weight globally, also in non-Western countries. So, is diversity mainly a Western feature, or is it similar? Does it have similar importance and weight in global situations? Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't say this is only fit for the countries in the West or the global North, if you will. We are having so much of talent shortage globally. We have, if you look anywhere, we have teacher shortages, healthcare, nursing shortages. So we see and really think what employees, how the future, how do we shape our people strategies, and how do we strengthen our talent pipeline. So in case of let's say in Finland, we have terrible demographic outlooks, and it's a really switch-off button for the welfare economy if we don't get immigrants enough to be coming to this country and actually getting quickly jobs and pay taxes to keep up the welfare. In other contexts, we have a lot of inequalities on the job market, how a job market policy is done. Let's say we'll talk about teachers, we have issues with aging population. So how are we going to fill the talent shortage? In China, we have different ethnic backgrounds. In Czech Republic, we have, I think, different backgrounds and different abilities, different gender groups, which are not represented at in the talent pool. So if we want to represent the customers, anywhere we go, anywhere where we are, this is the truly moral conviction, but also is a great business imperative that I see today. Because even if it's employer's market, employees will choose by their feet who they work for. And we want to get the best talent there is.
For sure, we are here also for best talent, and then really us to make the better decisions. And it's sure that I agree that the diverse team will make better decisions. And the question comes that, but does diversity make those decisions somehow more challenging to get alignment around those decisions?
Well, again, if we take diversity, it's people, right? So we need to have that communication aligned, that what is important for the business goals, to achieve business goals and objectives. It becomes, again, the skill of communicating on a way that everybody understands. We come with our different backgrounds. We come with different insights. Our experiences are shaped by, again, all our education, our previous careers, but nothing beats the ongoing communication of the business unit leaders, and how then you make also yourself as a vulnerable and say, yeah, we haven't done these decisions before, we need to give it a try. So if you want to fail, the culture of failure, but a feedback to fail fast and fail bravely together and then do the best you can.
Just one more. Yeah. What are the most typical top 5 actions that companies should pay attention to?
Top 5.
Top 5.
All right.
Just a list.
So if I can say something, first is to recognize why and where you need to diversify and inclusify in your teams. why, understanding your why. Then the team, the commitment, how the top leadership communicates the commitment in such a clear language that everybody understands and follows, that you know how you can make it actionable, right? The commitment. The 3 is how we look at our daily behaviors. I know you had a people forum, so you already had some suggestions how you would like to be treated. What are the ways to streamline communication between offices in Baltics, in Asia, in Switzerland, and other countries, so that you have the daily behavior suggestions? What is hygiene level? And what do you want to do to be industry leader? So hygiene level, again, could be recognizing, celebrating Diversity Day, but also thinking, okay, how do we coin that into people, Lindström Awards, so that what is the behaviors that we want to have? What is okay and what is not okay, right? And the other things is ongoing efforts. How much funding do we give to different groups and learning environments? We have employee resource groups, for example, where you have people who can, let's say you have a specific diversity group you want to hire in the team, women of color, or differently able. But walk the talk with inclusive communication. Who do you want to hire? Look at these, the commitment to funding, and how that really turns out on your recruitment strategies. And 5th, evaluation. Constant feedback to look at, okay, what's the loop and how do we get your voices heard so that we can build on this journey? Because I'm telling you, one of the pitfalls in day is this do no wrong. Do no wrong, and it affects also us in day industry. So please do not go for perfection here. Go for just trying your best, and that way you bring out that say, okay, I try my best for my people, and I do it out of love. Love. Feel comfortable? Yeah. So that's the thing. That's for me. The day work is work of love and dignity, and look each other in the eye. So I hope that's a way to give you this top 5.
Give a huge round of applause to Kamilla.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Kamilla.
you, Kamilla.
And
for you,
again.
thank you for the questions.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. I see you nodding. I see you nodding. Still have your dance moves.